Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. We've got Joel today on the show. And Joel, I'll just, if you don't care, let you introduce yourself, your company, a little bit about who you are and what you do, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show today, Shannon. We've talked about this for a while, and I get to talk about something that really combines my background in sheds and my interest in gardening. Greenhouses are really something I enjoy selling, and it's been kind of a long standing history for me and with greenhouses. So 2000. Actually, I grew up gardening in the Midwest, Indiana, and then as I grew older, I really got a vision for being a blessing to people in the city. The cities are where the needs are, where the people are, and I found out I can really share my love of gardening with people in the city, and grow in the urban space, anything from balcony vegetables to a little food forest in my front yard. Now it's something I've really enjoyed. So going back to 2009, I moved to California, to Sacramento area, and I was teaching school. And then in the summer of 2010, I worked part-time installing shed kits from Pennsylvania, built on site. And after a while, we were offering greenhouses as well. I transitioned into sales that up through 2018, and then had a short break from sheds, but still growing in the greenhouse. And in Ohio, we lived 3 blocks from a community center that had greenhouses. They had an aquaponics system and a little heated greenhouse. And they needed somebody to operate it and take care of it. So I ended up doing that. I got the growing space in exchange for tending to that. So I got to keep doing that. I was doing plumbing. I went back to my dad is a plumber. So I went back to doing plumbing for a few years. And then it was through COVID times, 2020. Nobody was using there was a larger greenhouse there, 40-foot long, and ended up being able to use that for myself, for my gardening. So did that for a few years, and then headed on out here to the East Coast. So another Rust Belt city, Holyoke, and there was Hometown Structures is here, and they had done some greenhouses over the years. I went back into sales here with Hometown. That was 2.5 years ago. And they had the earliest passive solar greenhouse they did was in 2005, and it's still standing. Andrew Kurtz, the founder, one of the owners, shared a picture not too long ago of that original one. It was the customer provided some windows, and they did a lean-to passive solar design. And that's something that I kind of brought to it. I had thought of this in California. We ended up doing more of the A-frame greenhouses, polycarbonate, twin wall greenhouses there, more up into the foothills where it was a little cooler, a little bit in the San Francisco Bay Area. But here in Massachusetts, it's way with the climate here. It's much more gets a lot colder in the winter, very similar to Ohio, and so. We did, so here we do a passive solar one that's a south-facing, at least as an option with the insulated north wall and end walls. So and then we're going into some hybrids. It ends up being kind of a blurred line between sheds and greenhouses at some point, but it's been a lot of fun.
We've got several pictures that we want to post on here, especially for those who choose to watch on YouTube as opposed to listening to just the audio version of the podcast. So if you haven't checked out let's see, they can go to Hometown Structures and subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Sure.
And they can go to Shed Geek Podcast and subscribe. And on the Hometown Structures, they'll see the passive solar greenhouse shed walkthrough tour, where you can grow year round in Massachusetts. And you kind of do like a 5-minute video that just kind of talks about that. And maybe the biggest surprise is that immediately you live right in the city. Like literally you can see it with the drone footage inside the video. So you kind of show how you can benefit from living in an urban community while still being able to harvest food and grow plants, right?
Sure. Yeah, I've really enjoyed that. And those original photos, that was taken basically 2 years ago, but going into winter. So it's been, this is the third growing season that we've had. And now it's really a lot more developed. So my elderberries are going out over the sidewalk and that kind of thing. It's really taken off from back then. There was kind of early establishment, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
You're a Midwestern fella. You started in Indiana. Was it Southern or Northern Indiana?
Northern Indiana, Bern, south of Fort Wayne. So,
okay.
So Northeastern Indiana.
Yeah. Near Warsaw, anywhere? Is that fairly close?
No, it's over on the eastern edge. So,
okay.
So Bern is on US 27, south of Fort Wayne, about 35 miles.
Okay.
So it's between Fort Wayne and Muncie.
So now you grew up in the shed industry, or how did that come to be?
Not for the most part. I grew up around it somewhat. My dad was a school teacher as well in Virginia, and he actually worked for Byler's back for a summer. It's my mom's, Benny Byler's my mom's first cousin.
Okay.
So, and Steve, his son, has been involved in that. Now I guess it's Ulrich now, but they have. So yeah, one summer he worked. It was back in the kind of the mini barn era in the early '80s, and I remember him doing that. And then I got started in the industry myself in 2010.
Okay,
I went full time in 2011.
So yeah, but you've been able to experience quite a bit of between your West Coast roots and your Midwestern roots, and now you're on the East Coast. You're able to like take a lot of that experience and I'm sure use that for your customer knowledge, and so many other things. So gardening is really probably more of your passion. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah.
Why gardening? What got you started?
Well, I actually got the idea. I have a distant relative who was in New York City, and we were at his place, and they had in their 4th-story apartment, they had a little hanging basket with cherry tomatoes right there in Brooklyn, East New York, up on and so that really got me thinking. And so when I moved to the city myself in Sacramento, I had the balcony, and I right away started growing things on the balcony, and that was my start. And then as I moved to other places where I've always found gardening space. A lot of times people want to garden, and then they maybe run out of steam after a while. So there's a community gardening area where I lived in Sacramento for 6 years, and so I kind of gradually took over that. The person that had started it wasn't really interested in keeping going with it. So, but people like to have sea gardens and things like that. It's always been a conversation point with neighbors, networking in the community. It's really been something that's gets you in contact with all kinds of people, and just all kinds of opportunity for being a blessing to people.
Joe, you're an interesting guy, and I'm sort of like putting together the video in my head, a little bit of your life as I'm watching it. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, well, ask him this question. Is that okay to ask? You grew up Anabaptist, you grew up Mennonite.
Yes. Yep.
And I'm just curious at what that experience was like to go. You kind of made mention to me before, there's a bit of a mission field in the more populated areas. I saw a map just this morning about different things in the United States. And one of these maps it showed all the places in red, which is basically every major U.S. city. And it said the population is equal here in the red, which highlighted all of the city areas, the major U.S. cities. And then it's equally as populated as all these areas in the gray. And you saw all of this space, which was like 98% of the U.S. And then like 2% or something like that of the U.S. made up the same population as the 98%. What was your experience like for you in that situation? Was it culture shock? Hey, Deanna, I need to write a new ad for Shed Hub. Give me some ideas.
Why don't you do something catchy like the insurance commercials do all the time, where they just repeat the same thing over and over?
Like a little jingle or something like that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be embarrassing?
That is kind of the point.
What type of music?
Try rap.
Shed Hub helps you sell shed.
Maybe country.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Rock and roll.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Maybe just go back to your normal writing style.
Shed Geek and Shed Hub are now collaborating to make for a better customer experience. I want to save you some money. Shed Hub is focused on signing up the next 500 customers. We're calling it the Next 500 plan.
Real creative.
You think it'll help if I sing again?
I'd rather you not.
Well, that makes two of us.
So what's the Next 500 plan?
The Next 500 plan is simple. This will include 100 listings per month, per location, along with the Brand Builder website. And the plan will last for 1 full year.
But how do they save money?
It only costs $39 a month. There's never been a better time to sign up. Just go to geek.shedhub.com, click subscribe, enter your name, email, and payment information, and you will be contacted by a Shed Hub employee to get you onboarded for just $39 per month. Shed Hub helps you sell shed.
It's something I saw the needs. I got to visit some people that lived in cities, like I mentioned, and it really gave me a heart for people in the city. And so that, I wouldn't say it was something I really wanted to do a while before I got started. It wasn't a difficult transition. My parents lived in El Salvador. They were missionaries in El Salvador some years when I was really small. We lived there, and then I was back with them for about a year, and about 20 years ago. And so I had experienced different cultures, grew up among the Amish there in Indiana. So all kinds of, always relating to people of different cultures. So that wasn't really a big difference in moving to the city. As far as, and I enjoy that, there's people from all over the world that live in the cities where we are now. And in Holyoke, is a large Puerto Rican and Dominican population. So actually the largest outside of per capita outside of Puerto Rico. So, I mean, not as many in complete numbers as New York City, obviously, but still very dense for a city of 40,000. Very, very high numbers of immigrants.
So Holyoke is, we were talking about that. It's right there on 91, which is interesting because we went up to New Hampshire and we went into Vermont, but we came down from New Hampshire down on 91 into Springfield Basketball Hall of Fame. I got to get back up there and see it. I got to go to Cooperstown, but we got to get up there. And maybe whenever I do, I can come visit you guys. We've got reasons to be back up there and interviews we still want to follow up on. But it's busy there, honestly, from Northampton on 91 down into Hartford. And you can get to New Haven and all the way around the top part of New York City. And you can drive for like an hour and see what feels like a concrete jungle constantly.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities, too, for sheds and greenhouses and things. That the states are small. So, we go to build on site things. We do 125 miles. That covers all of Rhode Island, Connecticut, most of Massachusetts, except for Cape Cod. So it covers, it's very easy to cover the populated areas.
I think it's awesome. I still want to get up there to Cape Cod. I just hear it's beautiful. So, but I mean, just the whole area. We're actually coming back up to Pennsylvania in January, and I'm like, I was planning on going south whenever it was cold, and we're going up to interview with Pine Hill and a bunch of others. So, definitely looking forward to the trip, and I'll just see some friends along the way. So tell me about Hometown Structures, or tell me about these greenhouses. I'm kind of curious. It's something that you're passionate about now. It seems like you've blended your passion for gardening with your experience and your passion for construction.
Sure.
And what's the plan and kind of how it came together and what you guys offer and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So Andrew Kurtz started Hometown Structures here as a shed manufacturer in the early 2000s, and so it's been going at this location for I think over 20 years. So a lot of it's kind of interesting what is tapped into as far as a lot of the people in the shop and the on-site crews are mostly Ukrainian immigrants. So there's a large Ukrainian population here, and these days a few Afghani refugees that work here as well. So it's very very much they're very much craftsmen. So really attention to detail, kind of really take that mindset to their work. So yeah, it's been interesting working in this. With these, there was a lot of Ukrainians and Russians in Sacramento area, so this has been there's a lot of similarities between the West Coast and the East Coast. And in terms of the greenhouses, it was something that we're doing, but I kind of connected with Andrew online, and he knew my interest in gardening and greenhouses, and so and they needed another salesman, so it worked out really well for me to come fill that need. And then we kind of expanded more into greenhouses and offering it as a standard line rather than just a one-off custom shed, basically. And so that has really expanded from there. We kind of introduced the passive solar design, which you see in that video with the south-facing. So if I had seen that, it's been something that's been growing. There are some companies offering those. A lot of people, if you look on YouTube and other places online, you'll see some. There's some up in Canada, some pretty good sized ones where they do. They have it south facing and then insulate the north wall and the end walls, and then and sometimes have a geothermal heat exchange system underneath. And the one in the video there actually has that. That was kind of our prototype for those, where you have a system of drainage tiles underground and a fan just blowing air in there anytime it's too hot or too cold. So below 50 and over 75. And so you get some passive heat storage even through the winter and cooling in the summer.
So you kind of made mention to, it's a mixture sometimes between sheds and greenhouses. And I feel like we're seeing that more often. I think maybe one of the closer ones I seen was in Indiana recently, actually. But that is something that's becoming more common. And I always have to say hands down to you guys in the Northeast, because I just always feel like whether it's the quality, but it's particularly the design aspects that you guys do with some of these structures is always amazing. And I feel like we're always kind of, we have a big presence in the Midwest of sheds, but we have a big presence of like traditional storage and like fairly simple design, mass production. But you guys really focus on the design aspect of it. And just looking through your website, seeing like the pergolas or cabanas or whatever you call them, the outdoor living section tab, gazebos, pavilions, pergolas. Yeah, you guys do a little bit of all of it. I'm always so intrigued by the design, and that's a good example of where sheds cross-reference with something like greenhouses. carports begin to come into the picture.
Sure.
Chicken coops. What are we calling a shed? Because anymore, like post frame, I hear guys in Michigan all the time refer to their sheds in their backyard, and it's like a 60 by 96 or something. And I'm like, well, hey, that's not a mini barn,
Sure.
right? So, but you can see, like, even with your website having greenhouses and play sets, but the shed, I always say the shed's kind of like the nucleus and the point that connects us.
Sure. Yeah. So on the manufacturing side, we don't manufacture the outdoor living products. So those are from Country Lane.
Okay.
We work with Country Lane on those, and that's been a long standing, goes back 20 years or so.
Awesome.
Starting with the gazebos and things. But yeah, we do manufacture the sheds and the greenhouses right here.
So who does the design aspects for the sheds that are also service as a greenhouse? My wife she's just after me to get one of these eventually. And I'm like, I know, I just got to get a couple things in order and then we'll get one. But who she's just in love with these things because they look so cool.
Sure. Yeah, I would say the bulk of it would be Andrew Kurtz. He does he's kind of come up with, like the passive solar design. We worked in the existing shed style and just modified it. The back half was basically like a shed, and then the front half we just modified the glazing on it. So I would say he definitely has his hands in it. And then as far as fine tuning the design, the shop foreman, he's really good at that. He's really a craftsman, and so it ends up being a group effort. But yeah, they have some really good people that are able to take a design and bring them to life.
Now, do all of them offer solar, or is this, you're talking about passive solar? So I eventually want to kind of get that conversation out to the audience so they can understand what you're describing there. Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, so passive solar design is one where you're maximizing, it's really geared toward winter growing or four seasons growing, where you're maximizing the sun, the lower sun angle in the winter. So you tend to have, kind of backing up in the 70s, some of these designs were developed when they just had glass. They didn't have the polycarbonate. And so it was really, they had to be very careful to angle their glass just right so it wouldn't reflect too much sun. So that you want right angles to the glass for maximum light penetration in the winter. So with polycarbonate, it has really expanded things because it's much less crucial. It diffuses the light. And so your angles are more about what's usable, what sheds the snow, that kind of thing. And so so it's kind of several parts to it. So one is having the glazing angled toward the sun, or try to capture all the sun you can in the winter. And then the other part of it is insulating it as well as you can. So around any walls that aren't getting that winter sun, the north wall, for example, you insulate it and probably minimize the windows in on that side. I mean, it's kind of optional. We just did one up in Vermont where the homeowner wanted, she wanted to be able to look at its inner front yard. And so she wanted to be able to look at something that looked more like a shed with some windows on the side facing her house. So she wanted it. So she went with more of a little more of a traditional shed design, but then it's all glass on the front side. So just banks of windows, and that's how we've tended to do things. It works really well for airflow in the summer. But now going back to the passive solar design, so that's it's about capturing the light and heat in the winter. So especially the heat, that's kind of what sets it apart from other greenhouses. And then with the insulated sides, it holds the heat. And then the other part of it is some kind of passive energy storage or heat storage. So that can take some people do like water barrels, containers full of water, and then that absorbs the heat energy during the day and kind of gradually releases it at night. In this case, we do the underground system, that's fun. That has so I have it set to any time. I think I mentioned this before, but anytime it's over 75, that the fan kicks on, starts blowing excess heat down into the ground, and then it goes down 4 feet underground, and it has insulation around the perimeter, so 4 feet down, and then that really helps stabilize the temperature. And so I've been testing. So the one at my place is the prototype to kind of really let me test it out. And so that I was hoping for Northern California kind of temperatures. So zone 9B is what it was there. You can grow citrus. And that's what I've been able to do. Even the first year, we got it late in the year. We got it, I think it was November 15th or so that we installed it. And so we didn't really, you want to be able to charge it ideally in the summer. So with that storing that heat underground in the summer. And so in this case, we couldn't, but we could at least make use of sunny days and heat it up as much as you can on sunny days. And so the first one, my goal was to kind of keep it mid 20s or above at the coldest. And that's what it hit that a few times, I think 26 degrees or so. And last year, I think it was 27. And this is when it's zero outside, no additional heat. And the windows on this one, the windows aren't even insulated. There's the insulated polycarbonate, but the little ventilation windows around the bottom are single pane, just regular shed windows. And they work fine. Even with that, my lemon tree is fine. I have a kumquat, a key lime in there. Just all kinds of, and a lot of things like rosemary, oregano, winter hardy greens, things like kale and chard. Those all thrive in that kind of environment. So it's a lot of fun.
What's the average temperature that you usually keep it?
Right, I would say probably 40s.
Okay.
So it goes on a sunny day, like today we have a sunny day. It probably hits 80 degrees in there.
Okay. Wow.
And then at night, most nights, I think this time it goes down into like low 40s, early upper 30s, something like that. But then once we get, if we get 0 or 5 below for a week straight, that's when it's going to hit just below freezing. But even then, it's just at night and usually just a little bit in the morning or early morning, and then the sun comes out and the temperature goes up quite a bit.
But you're still able to bring like life to those things that otherwise is just unavailable.
Yeah.
During the cold months. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, just a little freezing temperature. You don't really get frost. I can't really do full tropicals with that, but customers, they can always add a little bit of heat. So I'm kind of testing the limits of what the system can do, at least on that small scale, what it can do without any supplemental heat. So
now,
that's kind of been my priority.
Is this all like what's included in like a normal package, and What does installation look like for that?
Sure. Yeah. So we do our own site preparation. We do our own sites. We have a mini excavator, and now we're doing one right now where it's almost expanding into the garage category. There was one I think it's a 24 by 30 or so, where it gets a full foundation. I didn't really work with that one much. The guy that takes care of garages is the sales manager. He's the one that's spearheading that one. But they did. So I think they needed a little bigger equipment for it, but they put the system in there. It's actually going to be used for, I think, more for a hot tub with a paver, kind of an outdoor patio for the winter. That's an interesting one.
What would be like an average size?
Average size, I would say the main, most of them are, probably 8 by 10, 8 by 12, 10 by 16, up to 12. I think we did a 10 by 20 and now at 12 by 18. So it's kind of, I would say the majority of them are probably at 10 by 16.
So kind of walk me through on this mini excavator. I'm curious on the installation process. Is it real labor intensive? Is there a lot of components that need to go into the ground?
So I think we may have a little bit of that, some photos or maybe a little footage of I think some photos maybe of what the hole looked like on the one at my place. But just dig down 4 feet, and then we did 2 layers of perforated pipe. So you have a 4-inch perforated pipe, and you just run them every 16 inches or so. And so what you're trying to do, so it does several things. One is you get condensation down underground. A lot of the heat transfer comes through condensation. And so first of all, you line the hole with 4-foot sheets of insulation. So that keeps the frost out. And there's some alternatives you can do insulating the ground. Sometimes you can do something that's a little more shallow and more stretches out from the perimeter. Like basically you can do sheets horizontally if it doesn't work to go vertically. So we've done that on a few where we didn't actually do the whole underground system, but just insulated the perimeter that way. So then the heat is stored in the ground. So for the underground system, though, the geothermal, you have these 2 layers, one at 4 foot and one at 2 foot down. And the fan, it's very simple. The fan just blows through those. There's a manifold at each end, and it blows down into those pipes and then up the opposite side and the other corner. So just very, very simple system. So the condensate, because it's perforated, the condensation can just drain down into the ground. And they have some systems, like I said, up in Canada that are doing, you can do large scale and really get some impressive results with this. Mine's on an 8 by 12 is probably about as small as you want to go with it.
The 2 primary units would be the passive solar and then the garden shed greenhouse.
Right. Yeah. The garden shed greenhouse is basically the more shed style ones. And we have kind of from the more basic ones up through more custom. I mean, we have a variety, and I would say that's really a niche. I would say more broadly on the sheds, that's been a niche for us, is the more custom kind of things. There are a lot of the more mass produced ones available. So the niche is the more custom designs.
Just a standard plug, like what's the electric component? What would that look like as far as like connectivity?
Yes, that it's just a standard 110. And now that's not something we offer. So that would be something we'll install the fan, and then they need an electrician, a licensed electrician to hook it up. And with greenhouses, that really works well because you can, greenhouses are typically, the wiring is in conduit surface run. That's pretty typical. A lot of times you don't even have a wall to put it in. So we found works really well. People are used to that. And so their electrician can come in and run conduit afterwards. And it's just a standard greenhouse look.
Have you ever had a customer ask you about how to supply power to their shed? Do you sell electrical kits as an upsell for your sheds currently? Do you want an easy, no-hassle option to offer for your customers when they want to add electric to their sheds? Check out EcoEthics Solar. EcoEthics Solar is looking for shed manufacturers and shed dealers who want to be able to provide a solar electric option to their line of sheds. With EcoEthics Solar, you can purchase the Sunsaver, a solar product specifically designed with the shed owner in mind. Want to offer a larger product that can operate a full tiny home? At EcoEthics Solar, they have the necessary product, training, and capacity to meet your customers' needs. Installation for the Sunsaver is simple and takes just 45 minutes. You can even install it right there in your sales lot or at the manufacturing facility. EcoEthics Solar even provides hands-on in-person training if necessary. Plus, they will provide you with video tutorials and handouts with specific installation instructions that keeps adding a solar-powered electrical system to your shed fast and simple. In many cases, the end user can even perform the installation once the shed is delivered to their home. If you are interested in purchasing a unit for display and then drop shipping your orders or even ordering multiple units to have available as you build, contact my friends at EcoEthics Solar at 336-250-1284 or email sales@ecoethicsolar.com. What's your customer experience been like? I mean, these are mostly green thumbs that come in and they want to find a way to be able to continue to, I mean, food plots have become the biggest thing, it seems like, here in the Midwest. And
Sure.
I mean, obviously we saw greenhouses take off within the last few years, I feel like, but then chicken coops have really, so is this more of I don't want to go as far as to say a prepper mindset, but more of just a self-sustainability mindset? Or is this green thumbs, or what are you seeing as a primary customer base?
Yeah, I would say for these kinds of greenhouses, it's people with some disposable income, so professionals, they don't have time to do their own. They'd rather pay somebody to build it for them. But they're, I would say, hobbyists, backyard hobbyists, a number of doctors, people like that. They maybe have another plot of land or something that they're doing some gardening on. I'd say those are the kinds of that's kind of the niche for this kind of product.
Have you found it to be more plant-based or more food-based?
Good question. The main thing I've seen is people using them for growing garden vegetables. I'd say that's the majority of it. Now and then you get some people that want to heat it for their tropical plants during the winter. There was one, I think, one had some bonsai that he wanted to, and I think maybe some things like dahlias, and I do hear that sometimes people want to overwinter things.
I can't hear bonsai and not think of the Karate Kid. So
sure.
the movie The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Miyagi. That's all I could think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, what an interesting business. I thought that was really weird. We had a guy selling bonsai trees up here in my little hometown one day, just driving by, and he's got 12 of them out there, and they're pretty costly. I don't know if people have ever bought one, but at least the ones he was selling was. And I was like, wow, what an odd thing to see just out of nowhere. And then you think to yourself, how long do those take to grow? Did he grow those in the winter? Is he growing those in a greenhouse? Your mind starts working. It's kind of interesting. And I know for sure we're seeing a lot more farmers markets become just more of a standard. We actually, I had a shed lot at one point, and the local Chamber of Commerce came to us and was talking about just seeing if they could host the local farmers market get together or whatever at our shed lot, because it kind of complemented it, which it made sense because we wanted to bring people in who sort of fit the demographic as far as potential customers as well.
Sure.
So yeah, it worked out really good. So what's sort of your message to a customer whenever somebody comes in? What is Hometown Structures, or what is Joel's personal philosophy on somebody coming in looking to get a greenhouse? What kind of experience do you want them to have? Yeah,
well, I right away want to see how they're wanting to use it. That's kind of see what their needs are and how we can meet those needs. And a lot of times we have a mutual interest in gardening and growing plants. So if they have technical questions and things, we can talk about it. It's a lot of fun. And sometimes we end up talking about gardening before we get to the greenhouses, talking about those. But in terms of, I would say, and kind of going this, I'm going to pivot a little bit back to the how these are used question, because that's going to impact what direction they go with it. There are plenty of people that just want something for season extension. So they want to start in maybe April here. Maybe they germinate their plants indoors, and then they want to maybe plant out their tomatoes and peppers and things in a greenhouse, add just a little bit of heat. So for something like that, they can do they might not even need twin wall polycarbonate. Would do the corrugated, more the metal roof profile, and just regular shed windows. That works really well for that kind of thing. So sometimes, we look, what are their needs? How are they looking to use it? And so from there, another variable is some people want a floor and some people don't want a floor. So that's another customization we can do. We can do just a standard floor, or some of them want to put raised beds in their greenhouse, and so they want to grow straight in the ground in the greenhouse, where other people are going to do tables and have their plant trays on tables. So that's another variable. And so but there's several other categories that have been more popular, that are becoming more popular. One is to kind of use it as a gazebo sort of space, where they want sometimes not even really using it for plants. More they have some tables and chairs out there and a place to sit. Sit somewhere that's warm and inviting on a sunny day in the winter, to sit out there. It might get a little hot in the summer if you're not going to do any shade. But that's one use. Another one is kind of taking that a step further, is more toward a sunroom, like an outdoor. So we do some with composite decking and then just a shingle or metal roof, just a standard one, more like a shed, but then windows all the way around. And so we did one. There was one that had early this year, which is kind of a really good example of this, where she had an old cedar gazebo that was falling apart, and they wanted to replace it. And so they went with an LP, a shed, actually a sunroom kind of thing with LP siding. She wanted the cedar look, so we did a urethane, the Haley urethane wood grain look kind of for her, and windows all the way around. And so that's something that we're seeing grow as well.
Creativity just is the key and the factor behind growth and new things. And it just shows the expansion between just traditional, typical storage. Because I think
Sure.
There's a whole lot of companies that sort of like build their company philosophy around like being a solution for a storage need. But as you can see, like,
Sure.
I guess this too is storage. It's just storage for your food or storage for your plants. But it's being able to be flexible and offer those different things.
Hey Shed Geek listeners, RTO National is excited to announce a special promotion running January 1st through the end of March 2024. Drum roll please. Shed lease purchase customers who choose a 36-month contract are eligible for 1 month of free rent. That's right, as a thank you to customers who keep their accounts current, we're waiving the final payment on their shed. RTO National dealers are also provided with downloadable banners, posters, flyers, and social images to help you market the promotion and get more people to stop by your business. Our team has exciting plans for 2024, so if you're interested in learning more about this promotion and what we have in the works for our dealer partners throughout the year, send us an email at contactus@rtonational.com or give us a call at 833-628-8255. 8536.
Are these all deliverable? Are these all anything built on site, or?
I would say mostly deliver. Most of them we deliver fully assembled. Yeah, we do offer build on site as well. So for some, and on the bigger ones, we'll probably, kind of have to take it on a case by case basis. But some of them, at some point, it's more flexible than like a horse barn or something like that with the windows. It does limit what you can do somewhat. With no floor.
So what are you hoping to do? Are you wanting to expand? Are you wanting to find more manufacturers in your area that are looking to carry greenhouses, or are you satisfied with where you are? What's sort of your plans?
Yeah, I think at this point it's more just expanding the market, just continue to grow from where we are with the greenhouses. And there are opportunities that come up for more custom, some larger scale kinds of projects. It looks like that's continuing to grow kind of as we do things. Well, then there's more opportunities to do more with that. And also more of the finished interior, maybe more that people are looking for something a little more polished. Where it's actually already finished out. You see some of that. I have may make a plug for the Facebook group.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
I started. This is just kind of a personal. This is a personal project, but it does feed into the greenhouses. I was looking online for places to kind of post pictures of greenhouses that we offer and some information. Well, most of the Facebook groups don't allow you to self-promote. And so like there's a hobby greenhouse one I had just recently joined that. I think it's 150,000. I forget what the members are, but now at that point it was 10 or 11,000 members. But they don't really let you. I've seen a few people do it, but you're not really supposed to promote. Retailers aren't really supposed to promote what they sell. And so customers can. They say, "Oh, I got," they'll say who they got their greenhouse from, but so homeowners are free to do that, but not the retailers. And so I decided to do something similar. I called it wood frame greenhouse builders and gardeners, and it's a 3,000 people right now, but I really see that as a place for not just for us, but other shed manufacturers and retailers to be able to connect with customers. And because we have people posting on there, and I'm hoping it continues to grow. But who offers a product like this in my area? I'm in North Arkansas, or I'm in Michigan, or Illinois. We have people from all over the country. From time to time, and I think it's fairly small at this point, and I think it'll continue to grow. But I welcome other manufacturers to post, or retailers to post what they sell, and kind of give people to connect, a place to connect. Now we don't want it to be exclusively people posting things for sale, but I would say there's room for a lot more. There's a lot of do-it-yourselfers that come in there, and so you have it. You get variety with more people. You get more variety. So at this point, I'd say we're pretty heavy on the DIY end of things. So we can easily. There's some room for manufacturers and retailers to post.
Yeah, we'll take. And what we'll do is find the group, and we'll just put a link to it in the newsletter or something like that. If you don't get the Shed Geek newsletter, sure, and you want to get the Shed Geek newsletter, it'll have information like that, including information about sponsors, those who kind of help keep the podcast rolling through their dedication of sponsorship. So we want to give back to them. Just all you have to do is contact me, and we'll get you that newsletter. I've failed on that a couple of times because I'm so busy sometimes, Joel, I forget to add somebody in or something. And that's terrible oversight on my part whenever you're just busy. But I think it's awesome. We kind of have the Shed Sales Professional private group Facebook page as well too, and it's very B2B. Sure. It's very B2B. You know, like we don't let people sell and advertise on there because customers aren't going to come on there to find sheds. But we do occasionally let people in the industry just kind of talk about their product or service on there at no charge, as long as they don't abuse it. Or you know, there's been a couple of times we've had to be like, hey, you know, maybe post once every couple of weeks, just remind people you're there once a month or something, but we don't have to have you on here every day posting. It doesn't look good, and then we have to change rules. But we try to be like helpful and friendly as long as it helps get the word out. I'm a fan of education, Joel. So like in my mind, the more educated you are, the better decisions you make.
Sure.
So yeah. And that education is not always formal, as we know.
Sure.
The trades do a lot.
Yeah.
Listen, anything else you want to share with the audience? Anything that you just want to put out there that are final thoughts on your end for what you guys do?
Well, I would say that a lot of it's just to look at what the opportunities are and how we can help people be more. It's really giving them an avenue to be able to be more self-sufficient, to grow their own food. Have a better idea where the food comes from. There's just, you know, rather than shipping it from somewhere else, the more we can produce food in our own communities, that's really a benefit. And greenhouses is a way to offering those is a way to enable people to be more self-sufficient like that. And there's really just a niche people can. With greenhouses, I think we talked about this before the show. With that, and there's the whole spectrum. People can build their own cattle panel greenhouse and put a little bit of greenhouse poly on it. That's or they can go to Harbor Freight and there's I think a Facebook group out there where they're modifying Harbor Freight greenhouses. They're doing wood frames so they don't blow away in the next wind. That kind of thing. There's from there you have all the way up to the conservatories, the glass imported metal conservatory type greenhouses from Europe. There's the whole, you can do 80,000, 100,000 on those kinds of things. So there's a lot of room in between those extremes for even basic greenhouses, and then just well constructed ones. Or if people want to have more money to spend and they want to have something insulated they can grow right through the winter with, we can offer those kinds of options as well. It's really an opportunity, and it's a growing market. From what I've seen.
Are you guys offering those to expand onto other shed lots, or are you kind of keeping those on your shed lots?
We basically just have one location at this point. I think they had some dealers back in the day, but more of just going to a kind of one-stop shop kind of thing, where we manufacture and sell right here at one lot.
Very cool. Very cool. I always give everybody, have been at least recently, give them opportunity to turn the microphone around. You may or may not have any questions. Some do, some don't. So you get a chance, 1 or 2, 3 questions, depending on how long-winded I get. And if you have questions, any questions that you have for the Shed Geek today, shed related or podcast related, anything that you can think of that just comes to mind that you'd want to ask, and you get to be the interviewer here. You get to be the host for a moment.
Yeah. So I guess I was wondering, what's your background with gardening and greenhouses? Have you done any of that kind of thing?
I have not. So my wife, is big on plants. We have a lot of plants in our home. She really wants me to get her a greenhouse. Trust me. She reminds me. Every time I do one of these shows, especially, I remember Dad tilling up a garden constantly whenever we were young boys, and he would make us get out there and help me and my brother, but I never really carried that on. I did get a tiller. We had 10 acres out in the country before we moved into town, much like yourself, where we own a half acre now.
Sure.
And I did try a little bit to, plant our own food. For us, it would be, obviously tomatoes, would be the first thing that comes to mind. But we do try to plant tomatoes here and there. Like we've even tried like the aftermarket things where you don't have to grow them in the ground.
Sure.
We just let the vine run up there. I don't know. They've got all these little tools now. We've tried all those, but that's really what it would come down to. I think my wife would be more plant-based. She loves flowers and she loves plants, and really plants more than flowers, because she says, the plants last, the flowers die. So, but no, I don't have much experience at all, to be honest with you. Food plots interest me, but it's more of I have to admit, I'm a little bit enamored by like the whole survivalist thing, the whole prepper thing.
Sure.
Being able to can things, keep things back. We saw the world go crazy when we lost toilet paper, so like what's going to happen when we have no water or something like that? And you just, it's always looming in the back of your mind. And I think it has to be, not to be too political in nature, but you just always wonder like the direction of the world. And, of course, then we read the Bible and we know God's promises and things like that too.
Sure.
So, it's, I think it just comes down to personal preference, but I'm a terrible green thumb. I'm just not. I saw a meme recently that said, did I really kill the plant, or did the plant just not have what it takes to make it in this fast paced environment? So yeah, that may be me.
Sure. Yeah, I really, speaking of tomatoes, I always like to try new or more varieties of heirloom tomatoes. I do like 30, 40 varieties as a trial. I'm trying to cut down on the numbers of varieties, but I love tomatoes. So that's something I really enjoy growing.
I love some sweet corn too. We're big sweet corn fans. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just connecting this to my gardening experience. So I had a similar experience growing up. We always had to go out there and weed the garden. You talk about tilling, weeding, all that. I have gone to no-till organic kind of methods, and I find that it really eliminates a lot of the weeds. You end up mulching, but you build up the soil, and you don't have. So yeah, that was kind of my least favorite thing about gardening growing up, was all the weeding and the tilling and stuff. But now I don't do any of that. I don't own a tiller. And really things have, it's something that's expanded. People have kind of gotten more awareness of regenerative agriculture, cover crops, some of those more regenerative methods. And it really is more just uses natural methods to grow things. And it kind of does more on its own.
I think it's great.
It's really amazing.
My son went to college recently, and he was in class with around some kids that grew up in the city around St. Louis area. And, he was in FFA in high school, and he was explaining to them, and they were like, what is FFA? And it's just amazing to be like, you don't know what, like you guys didn't have an FFA chapter, like in these rural communities like we are. It's like, that was, that was a big deal in our small schools.
Yeah.
Because everybody around here is a farmer or does river work of some kind, or at least that was the primary industry for years.
Sure.
So very interesting. Any other questions that come to mind?
I don't know of anything right offhand. So.
I'll take what I got.
I saw what you were doing on some of these other interviews, so I was ready for that one.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I've been trying to keep it fun, keep it entertaining. Content creation is key whenever it comes to podcasting or marketing or advertising and those things. So people really want, and you just got to listen to what people want, because that's what we're trying to bring them.
Sure.
And I say it every time. I'll say it again. This has just been the coolest adventure for me to be on. And I love getting to meet guys like yourself, because it is networking. And the next time I'm up near Springfield, I'll be able to call on Joel and we'll be
Stop
able
by.
to go out and grab something to eat. And then I'm sure I'll learn a whole lot, but I'm more fascinated by the interviewees. Like whenever I get a chance to meet you guys, and then I get to see what you're passionate about, and I just kind of watch it all, because my passions can't be yours always. But I love to watch people genuinely happy discussing what makes them happy, and gardening is obviously something that's near and dear to you. And I love your heart, brother. I love your heart for the mission field and like the more urban communities. What a cool thing, because you never hear that typically coming from our more conservative friends.
Yeah, here in New England, it's definitely post-Christian kind of culture, and so it's really an opportunity for people that are just respectful and loving, and stand for truth, stand for what the Bible says, but be respectful in how we represent it.
Yeah.
Not and a lot of times it's very disarming for people. They expect they expect a fight, they expect politics or whatever. But if you just are faithful and a blessing to people, they respect you for it.
I heard
even if they disagree with your positions, they're still moved by it.
I heard a pastor say one time, you're the only Bible some people will ever read. So
yeah,
how, what you do is more important oftentimes than what you say. So just, sometimes that's what brings people around to want to be more curious. So Joe, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you being on the show today. Yeah, it's been really cool.
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed talking about greenhouses.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford. I'm here at the Union Grove Lumber Studios, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.